Hi, you're welcome back, and we're going to go into a main discussion where we're looking at the U.S. visa imposition on Ghana. And sometime last week Thursday, the U.S. Embassy and the U.S. posed visa restrictions on Ghana. Now, and the reasons being lack of cooperation in accepting their nationals ordered removed from the United States. And this has been lingering on for some time. I remember last year it came up, and there was this discourse about it. It fizzled. It came up again. Now it's really come up with this restriction being given. We're going to look deep into this, dissect it, and get some answers from questions that we have concerning this. And to help us to do this discussion, I have in the studio, I'm expecting two guests. I have my first guest in the person of Dr. Richard Egan. He is a medical practitioner in the diaspora, and he's an integrated physician and a specialist in bioregulatory functional medicine, and he's a clinical nutritionist and a psychotherapist as well. Very loaded, and trust me, very international. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're warmly welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Even though it's very cold in here.
It is. And then next to Doctor, we have no other person. He's a known face all over. In the person of Ibrahim. He's an international relations security expert. Ibrahim, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you again, sir.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm superb. Thank
you. Great. Now, Doc, a little bit about your bioregulatory functions, medical, clinical, nutrition, psycho. Looks like you're widespread when it comes to your medical field.
Oh, yeah.
Just briefly, what do some of these things mean? Clinical, nutritional, psychotherapies, and all that. Actually, what do you really do?
Well, actually, we if you're practicing integrative medicine, then you need to be all over the place. Okay. You need to learn a bit of everything.
Okay.
So I decided to learn a bit about the brain, neurosciences, the way the brain works, and also the way the body works. Okay. So we've got the brain and the body. Sometimes we call the two the same thing, but they are two separate things. Although the brain controls everything in the body, we also know that the body also performs its own functions anyway to keep us going. Okay. So therefore, what we try to do is just to learn everything. So I mentioned clinical nutrition as well, and for someone to sort of be restored to health, a patient to be restored to health, it's not just about giving them medication alone. The medicines are just only one part of treatment or therapy. So we need to involve other things, like even things that include things like lifestyle counseling, because the 21st century conditions or medical conditions we have are actually mainly lifestyle related problems. So we try to involve all these things in our practice. What makes what I do very successful is what I've just told you. I have to include all these things and even go to the person's brain function to see whether everything else is actually working. So bioregulatory medicine, functional medicine, and all these systems you've mentioned, and many others that you wouldn't be able to mention here. Because the whole paper will be continued.
Of course, and of course, he's a Ghanaian in diaspora, and really, what we're about to discuss, I mean, he definitely has a lot of experience. And with Ibrad, I mean, we all know Ibrad, so I'm not really going to go deep into what Ibrad does, but of course, international relations is a large field with security as well. Ibrad, briefly, when it comes to international relations, I know you've traveled wide and far, but how do you relate it to issues concerning Ghana and our relations outside?
Thank you, and I like you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's good to see you, Doc.
Thank you.
I think international relations is a very interesting area of study, and of course Ghana is quite a friendly nation, so in terms of our bilateral and multilateral relations with the rest of the world, you can't pinpoint a single country that Ghana is antagonistic to. We are allies to everybody. But in IR,
Okay.
It was for a reason that the UN Security Council had 5 permanent members. So therefore, the little I can tell Ghanaian politicians is that when there are such diplomatic disagreements with the United States, public show of bravado would not be the best way to go.
Okay.
I believe when America says something, you don't respond to her in public.
Okay.
It doesn't help your cause.
Okay.
And again, for those of us who have got close ties to the US, I'm an IVLP. The little training I had in Washington, D.C. was sponsored by the US government. We know that publicly politicians may come and spat against the US, but in private, they implore the Americans to give them visas because their wives are pregnant. And
I'll come to that.
They have no hope whatsoever in the future of a country they pretend to be building. They want their unborn babies to be Americans.
Because they want the American passport and all that. Okay, so we would come to go into details of all this, but before we do that, we're going to take the press conference that the U.S. ambassador had last week Thursday. We'll listen to that press conference and come back into the studio and delve straight into my questioning for my guest in the studio. So watch this.
We will pause issuance of all new visas for domestic employees of Ghanaian diplomats posted in the United States. In addition, we are limiting the normal 5-year validity for tourist and business visas for all Ghanaian executive and legislative branch employees, their spouses, and children under age 21 to single-entry visas valid for just 1 month. Also, Ghanaians who hold diplomatic and official passports face these same restrictions for tourist and business visas, even if they are not government employees. And let me make a distinction. The validity of a visa is not the same as duration of stay allowable. As long as a U.S. visa holder enters the United States prior to the 1-month visa expiration date, the allowable duration of stay is not affected. Current visa holders are not affected at this time. Student visa applicants are not currently affected. Ghanaian government officials traveling for official duty are not currently affected. Participants in official U.S. government exchange programs are not affected. We hope to work closely together with Ghanaian authorities to resolve this issue promptly. The U.S. government will lift these limitations when the Ghanaian consulates in the United States issue the required passports and demonstrate they can consistently provide timely issuance of these travel documents for these citizens going forward. If there is not progress in meeting these obligations in the coming months, the U.S. government could expand measures to include additional categories of people and/or discontinue additional types of visas. Let me assure you, both we and the government of Ghana are eager to resolve this situation that has spanned 2 administrations, both in Accra and in Washington.
Right, you're welcome back, and we just saw the press conference that happened last week Thursday from the U.S. Embassy, and I'm going to go straight to ask Ibad a very, very, very dicey question before I go to Doc and ask him what is Ghana not doing right. Now, Ibad, with a press conference like that, if I'm an embassy in Ghana and I'm going to have a press conference like that, do I have to inform my the Minister of Foreign Affairs within that country, or interior protocol or something?
My career in diplomacy was a bit young, half a decade. But during that time, I handled ambassadors. There were times Ghana would vote in a certain way on the floor of the UN General Assembly. If the government whose interests I represented had issues, we wouldn't go to the press. we would duly write to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. And times that we had to go to the Jubilee House to meet the president, we didn't move with a motorcade from the embassy straight to the Jubilee House or the presidency. We did so through the Foreign Affairs Ministry. This might have been a little breach of protocol, so to speak, in matters of diplomacy, because apart from the Americans, nobody actually holds press conferences. John Benjamin was active.
Very active.
Yes, but a bit measured. But as I said, if Togo did this, we could say, okay, to hell with Togo. If Zimbabwe did this, but this is our greatest ally, the United States of America. But be that as it may, two wrongs don't make a right. That is why I think that the Ghanaian counterparts to these, diplomats should be as diplomatic as possible, so to speak. Public exchange of heated words would do very little to deepen the bilateral ties between us and the Americans. They are helping us on multiple fronts. We are helping them too. With the current Takoradi kidnapping, the Americans have come in handy. We are helping them with Gitmo too. We have the Millennium Compact Agreement with the US. So there are multiple fronts of cooperation. And I believe the fact that an ambassador wants to have a maid from his extended family, and mind you, I handled ambassadors. It helps the country that is hosting your diplomatic mission that you take from the pool of unemployed youth there. So if you want to take a cook from Accra to Washington, D.C., and they say no, employ a Ghanaian that is already in the U.S.
That's all.
Employ an American. Those ambassadors I worked for, they are cooks, they are cleaners, those who did laundry for them, were all, Africans. We had an Ivorian who was also helping with cleaning. Some were Ghanaians as well. But then people engage in visa racketeering. So Nanado appoints you ambassador. You want your cousin, your niece, your nephew, all of them to go to the U.S., all in the name of going to help with house cleaning. So therefore, I think we have to be very sincere with our foreign counterparts and then do things right. Visa racketeering is bad. That might have informed the Americans' decision to take such a staunch position on this issue.
All right, Doc, let me take your stand on this as well. Like Ebert said, if you have bilateral relations, diplomatic relations with a country, and you have a little friction, there's an issue, should it really come up public? Should the public know about this?
No, they shouldn't. I mean, Ebert was right, because it will actually hurt the relationship that Ghana have with the U.S. And they are one of the closest allies we've got. We have cooperation with them in so many ways. So therefore, I think it's not the right thing to do. It's just part of human nature. You did it to me, I'll do the same to you. See, so, but then again, you have to be diplomatic about these things, because this is international relations we are talking about here. So I believe that it shouldn't be public, and we shouldn't show our teeth in public to them, to say, we can also retaliate one way or the other. I think it's not right. Somehow it sounds a bit harsh, you would say, I dare say as well. But then again, migration issues have become big issues these days, and we all have to learn from some of these things. If there is something there that we don't know, like if Ghana is not doing its part and living up to expectation, then of course, in this matter, then of course, we probably have to find out why. Because they've marked the people to go. They're not going to change their minds. They want them to go. So you have to process things, facilitate things, and get the people out of the country that seems to be hostile to them at the moment. So I don't think that it's a good thing to leave them there and for this to drag on, because it's not helping anybody at all, especially the people that are our people who are in this limbo,
Okay.
you would say.
Okay.
So I think that it's not.
Okay, I'm going to come back and ask you something on deportation and all that. But let me go to Ibrad. What is Ghana not doing right? Because it says a lack of cooperation, accepting to get your nationals back. What are we not doing right? Is there some agreement we're not doing right?
A little bit of difference. You heard Her Excellency the Ambassador mentioned consulate and not the embassy.
Yeah, consulate. Yeah.
For Commonwealth-related countries like where Doc came from, the UK, you would say a High Commission.
Okay.
The ambassador is a representative of the head of state abroad.
So,
the embassy does its work, but the consulate is in charge of consular relations.
Okay.
So the standard international relations practice is that anytime you set foot on a foreign soil, you have to report to your consulate. Where I don't fault our foreign missions in the US is many Ghanaians that go to the US have snuck into the country. In 2014, when we went for the World Cup, people used the Brazil route to get to the US. So the people are in the first place coming there illegally. So they don't even have the confidence to walk to our consulate and then register their presence in the US. So if you asked how many Ghanaians are in the US, we have no clue whatsoever. So it's a bit complicated. That is why I think we should tread the path of diplomacy rather than propriety in this instance. And it depends on how we're able to cajole the Americans behind closed doors. So that is just to add up to what Doc has said, that it may not be our fault. That we don't know. Even in here, we don't have a good identification system. Go to the passport office. You can just get a passport in one day if you have the money. You can feed them wrong information. Your name can be wrong. Everything about you can be wrong. And you can travel with it to the US.
Okay.
So the 7,000 the former ambassador mentioned, if you ask the Foreign Affairs Ministry, maybe we don't know these people. And the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations has set the parameters for treating foreign nationals with dignity. Where I don't agree with the Americans is that the two tranches of deportations we have seen have been inhumane.
Yeah, with the chains and all that.
So that is where I think we can be upfront with the Americans and say, you don't repatriate our nationals shackled on an airplane. But beyond that, someone has their house. You say, let me perch with you for 3 days. The person made provision for 3 days. Some people are in Bronx, in New York City, for the past 30 years, and they don't have documentation. So if the person says, leave my house, the best you can do is to adorn your own house so it becomes attractive for you to stay in it. So on this issue, I'm saying we've been to the US. There's nothing extraordinary. They are you to go through the same struggles we go through here. Let's remain home and build this nation so it becomes better than the US.
Ibrad, still on this, Doc, I'm going to come to you very soon on processes of deportation, but still on this, what is it that Ghana has to do for these Ghanaians deported, for them to come back home? Is it that we need to pay for their documentation? We need to do we have to take care of the facilitation? What's the agreement that we are not seeing to? We're not up to it, because we're supposed to do something we're not doing. What is it that we are not doing?
At some point, we'll push the Americans to the wall, and they may be tempted to make public the details, the bio details of the people involved. Look, there are official travels to the US where people are padded. And documents are taken to the US consulate for visas. Those people go with officials and they don't come back. So there's a semblance of official complicity in this whole thing. So it becomes very difficult to give people away for deportation. Maybe you charge them $5,000 before you allowed them to be part of the official entourage. So a lot of funny things.
A lot of funny things. A lot of things will be reviewed, huh?
Yes. So at some point, if the Americans have no choice whatsoever, they will make the list public. Then we will know who went where and in which, entourage.
Okay. All right, Doc. The Ghanaian mission, like Ibrad said, there's a mission at this consulate, but the Ghanaian mission in the U.S., our consulates, our embassy in the U.S. as part of they representing the country over there, what else do they do? Do they, like Iba was saying, do they even have a data of even Ghanaians within that perimeter? If it's in Washington, do they even have data of Ghanaians within that perimeter? What should they do to aid this deportation thing to be not to be harsh, not to be done diplomatically? What do they have to do? What are they not doing?
Right. I mean, I think that Ebert was right by saying that the people, some of them go there illegally. I have lived in the UK for a long time, for a while. I did my A-levels and a few other things over there, and so many of my studies over there. So I know things about migration. But then again, every country, is entitled to protecting its borders. So when you come in, and you come in legally, by legal means, of course, you need to be recognized. You need to register your presence. Your presence, I mean, I have been to Ghana High Commission in the UK, so I know how some of these things work. And I think that I've spoken to someone who was just very close to the High Commission, and what I hear is the people don't even go to the High Commission.
They don't.
They don't, Like Ibad said, some of these people know that once they get there, because of the means, the illegal ways they got in, it might, complicate matters for them. So people are actually hiding even from their own, high commissions or embassies. So therefore, how do you get to know those in your purview? I mean, how many you've got in the UK or what? I mean, we make lots of noise over there. I go on air to sort of, because we are more into public relations, and apart from my health, the health in education and so on, I'm a Ghanaian proud to be, and wherever I am, I have to try to protect the interests of Ghana, although I'm a UK citizen as well, but I'm Ghanaian first, and I have to protect that side as well. Both countries, of course, are matters related to both countries are important to me. So yes, the people need to be known. The embassies or high commissions need to know who is who in the countries that they live in, and then how many people are there as Ghanaians. They need to know, but like we are saying, it is not very possible to get to know everybody. Well, I think I'm known, and so are some of the people that are related, connected to me. But not everybody probably is known by the UK High Commission the way they do know me. And I also participate in public Ghanaian communal issues, etc. So yes, that is very important, but unfortunately, that is not the case at the moment. And secondly, about the deportation.
Yeah, I was going to come to that.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, we've seen some Ghanaians return from the U.S. already, like Ibrat said, in shackles and chains, and it was so inhumane. How do we deal with this moving forward? Because it will definitely happen. They will definitely be deported, those who have to be deported. Do we sit with the U.S., chit-chat? I mean, we don't like it. Because after it happened the other time, what has happened after that? We've not heard anything. It came in the papers, we talked about it. Nothing. Zip.
Yeah. You see, a nation protects its citizens. Every nation, nowadays, I mean, one of the pledges of the current U.S. administration is to make America great, isn't it? And making a nation great is protect your interest first. And then migration is important, of course, for economic and other reasons. But then again, who is walking into your country also matters. Whether this person is actually coming to contribute to anything at all, or nothing at all. Whether they are going to be a liability or an asset to the nation has to be taken into consideration, whether they are ECOWAS citizens, US citizens, or whatever citizen. You see, in the UK, you know what is going on in the country I've just come from. Migration is actually one of the issues why we are actually trying to get ourselves out of the European Union, because we thought that the that so many people coming in is one of the major issues, the bone of contention of this whole debate over there, that people didn't. In fact, if you ask the average UK citizen about why they voted to leave the EU, they will simply mention immigration. It's a tough issue.
Okay.
And like Ibet said, why don't we do something to better what we've got? We've got so much over here. And people like ourselves are coming in. Iba travels like I do. I travel almost everywhere in Europe and come here also to support. People don't know what I do now, but in my own way, I am supporting with health. And I heard someone saying self-medication, very important. I know they're going to talk about that. And that's very, very dangerous. Everywhere we live, we have these things. Even in London, we have people that actually ask their relatives to get them medicines to be taken behind the scenes. Okay. And I met a patient that has been taking antibiotics for even headaches. Antibiotics, yes. And we are even restricting people from taking antibiotics, you know, because it's very dangerous. It can be very dangerous, but people are doing these things. So behind the scenes, we are doing these things to support people over there and even here. I'm here, I mean, as a guest, and also here to also promote myself as Dr. Egan, being in the country, to try to help support people.
Because, for example, if these deportees come, it's a whole psychological issue.
Yes.
It's medical. I mean, you have to take them through some orientation and all that, where you will have to come in.
Yes.
So let me hold on to you that we'll come to that, because the aftermath of deportation. But Ibrahim,
why
has a United States of America visa become a bone of contention in the U.S.? Everybody wants to go to the U.S. And then also, it looks like the eye of the U.S. is on Ghana.
Yes.
I don't know what happens to other African countries. Like is it the same thing going on, or do we have a lot more Ghanaians over there?
The U.S. visa is the most sought after piece of document after the Bible and the Quran.
I like that.
When you see the queue, you can go to cantonments. Yeah. You see, he's done a little bit of PR doing communications. As a nation, the Americans have branded themselves well. It's about branding. In Ghana, you can meet somebody and dole out 100 Ghana cedis or 500 Ghana cedis and don't feel a pinch. In the US, nobody will give you $5. Even $1, you have to work for it. So look, in Los Angeles, I saw places like Circle. So at a point in time, I asked myself, is this America? So they've branded themselves well. The Hollywood movies have been helpful. I was where the movies, I was in Disney World as well. So the hotels in the US, some of them are not of the quality we have in Accra. And when you see the skyscrapers, you see homeless people underneath. So I would want to use this opportunity to tell fellow youth in this country that we can make Ghana as good as it can be. So that our great-grandchildren will be proud that we brought them up here, or we created a conducive, enabling environment for them to thrive in this country. The UK is even more difficult than the United States.
At the moment, it's one of the most difficult places to go to.
So you have a bank teller in Ghana doing so well, or a bank manager throwing away their master's degree, all because there's an opportunity to go to the US or the UK, where you will not even be accepted. Your Legon degree, they have no respect for it. You have to undergo retraining and re-education. Why would you leave a very dignifying job and go and be doing dishes in New York City or in London?
But if you're supposed to do it, you wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it. If we were to apply even a quarter of the passion with which we work abroad, Ghana would be doing fine. So the time has come for us to speak to the conscience of the people of this country.
Where do we start from?
You marry a woman, it's okay, for your honeymoon, I'm taking you to Nzulenzo. She will not be happy.
She won't go.
No, she will not be excited about Nzulenzo. Oh, we're going to do this in London.
Or Dubai.
In Dubai. So there's this notion about traveling. People even travel and they step into the unknown, all because they also want to travel. So let's demystify this whole issue. And I'm happy Doc mentioned migration.
Yeah.
It should be a topic of discussion for us so that people will cherish what they have. Look, I was itching to come home because you won't get banku and fufu and other things.
It's true.
So, Ibe, moving forward,
Yes.
what with this issue that is pertaining and pending, what do we do?
Now there is a debacle. I would plead that level heads should prevail. I hear.
The Foreign Affairs Ministry has issued some statements on the front pages as well.
I think that is the farthest we can go.
Okay.
So let's
We should
cease
tone it
fire.
down.
You tone it down.
Let's
now.
cease fire. Look, if you're a politician, you are not deceiving anybody. We know what happens. You know, your wives are pregnant. You want them to give birth to your baby so they can have UK or US, citizenship.
Passport, yeah.
You understand? So we know that you beg the Americans behind the scenes. So there is no need to do any saber rattling and grandstanding in public to impress us. Go behind the scenes, tone down, look at this in a very diplomatic way and resolve it. And for any Ghanaian that is marooned in the US, some are here, you think your uncle is a burger. He's struggling in the US.
You know,
Yeah, so come home. People who have returned like Doc, let's embrace them. Let's provide an enabling environment for them to, whatever expertise they are coming back home with. And let's do our best. And
Doc is still roaming the world.
I do.
They're still roaming the world.
want to-
All right, before I bring you in, hey Brad, quickly, before I bring Doc in. Now, the U.S. Embassy beginning today, February 4th, 2019, will discontinue issuing all non-immigrant visas, the NIV, to domestic employees of Ghana diplomats posted in the United States. What do you make of the statement?
That is the visa racketeering I'm talking about. Who is a domestic employee? A cook, a cleaner, someone who does the laundry. You don't need to take your
Oh, that will be denied.
overseas.
Okay.
That's what they do.
Wow.
The person would want her niece, if she's a woman serving in a diplomatic mission abroad, she wants her niece to go with that tag, when in fact that is not the job description you have there. So therefore, I think the Americans are right. Let's not begrudge them. Let's make Ghana attractive.
Very much.
Then we would want to stay here.
Okay. Now, are we doing these, is the U.S. Embassy in the U.S. doing this based on diplomatic lines, or they're doing it for security purposes? Doc?
Well, anything that U.S. talks about these days is about national security. Most of the time, the current president will be talking about Mexico and the rest.
Yeah.
It's mainly based on security instabilities and problems here and there. So yeah, I think it's both, because they are also mentioning Ghana not living up to international laws and whatnot.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I don't know, but I think that somebody's not doing what they're supposed to do. So probably that's why it's leading to this debate.
So they're not being too tough on Ghana, right?
Harsh, you would say, because if we have bilateral relations and we are cooperating on different multi-fronts, then of course, I don't know why they focus on Ghana. It seems everybody may know more about this, because it's international. So, but then again, I think that the focus seems to be on Ghana. It has been on Ghana for
May
some
I
time.
explain, since you brought the security
Exactly.
and the Vice President of blessed memory, we work with the state, so sometimes we get the opportunity to have an inkling of the debriefing on national security matters. The problem we have is that people are taking up advantage of the lapses in our security. So the Americans are concerned. We are an oasis in a desert of instability. Burkina Faso is not stable, Togo isn't too stable, Nigeria is not far from us, Mali is not stable. So what the transnational militants, what people you would call terrorists are doing is that they want to use Ghana as a conduit to hit the United States. You remember the Nigerian boy who was dispatched from Yemen, and the underwear bomber. He transited through Accra, intending to go to Detroit. So there is a market, increase in the use of Ghana as a conduit for retooling or refueling to target the United States of America. So they are so
most of these things have to do intelligence, right?
It has to do with intelligence.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, Ibe, about 7,000 Ghanaians were supposed to come back. How would we verify and certify that this is Ghanaian or this is not Ghanaian? What do we do?
No, I think this is a simple process.
Okay.
The Americans would find ways. Here, when you go to birth and death, you can decide what age to give them. And it is with that birth set that you apply for a visa.
Because that's the reaction we're getting from the ministry, that you can't certify whether those you're talking about are Ghanaians or not Ghanaians.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's an argument as well.
You know, people are funny. They can go to a consulate, they want a visa, they can pretend to be epileptic. Some can pretend they are dumb.
Yeah, it's true.
You even ask somebody,
It's so true.
I don't speak tree. You understand?
Yeah.
So people can be very funny, and many of those who go for
And they got caught in you catch them in their own traps, you know.
Some who travel tell their foreigners that there is war in Ghana. There's ethnic or religious war in Ghana.
They do?
That is how they get asylum. Some say they are homosexuals being persecuted. People tell
All sorts of things just to go.
Yes,
Yeah.
because they've been told this is how the US or the UK is. So I believe there should be sincerity in what we do.
Okay.
Go to the US or UK on a little vacation, go there to build capacity, come back and build the Republic of Ghana.
Doc, I mean, you're into psychotherapy as well.
Yeah.
This has to do with like you say, people will tell lies to travel. And Ibrahim has spoken about we conscientizing our citizenry. My question on that is, where do we start from? How do we do it? And how do we make Ghanaians proud that, look, it's our sovereignty, it's our country. Let's be proud of Ghana. I mean, like we can go, and we'll travel, go, come back. But then how can we make people know that let's be proud of Ghana? How do we do that?
I mean, somebody mentioned gentrification of Accra and people that are actually moving away because they can't even rent houses in Accra these days because the rents have gone up. And foreigners are taking over because they can afford to pay these rents. So the common Ghanaian, I mean, the average Ghanaian can't find a place to hide in his own capital city. You know, it's a bit worrying. And until such time that we actually start believing in ourselves, first of all, because I have seen so many things going on, I've heard so many things that are going on that even Ghanaians have problems with foreigners, well, people that have joined us here, put it that way, and they have issues with them, and some Ghanaians, I use taxis for a reason. I try to understand what's going on. They tell me a lot.
Okay.
You see, and they tell you that, well, I had an issue with this guy from country A, B, C, and rather I was taken into the police station, and the police dealt harshly with me. So how can you be proud to be a Ghanaian at the moment if someone can be treated better than you, and that person happens to be, you know, someone from somewhere else? I'm not saying we should treat people that have joined us here badly. I am, you know, an immigrant. Well, I went to the United Kingdom, studied over there, have become a useful citizen of that country. I've been made a citizen there, and still a Ghanaian who comes here to do useful things for my country of origin as well. So I have to be treated with respect. If I come here and I say I'm all the things I said I am, I expect my people to welcome me, accept me, patronize what I've got.
Okay.
Rather than just saying, well, he's just one of us, let's just, you know, we need, you know, he's just one of us, so why should we? So this is what we do. Okay. So we should start embracing this ourselves, respect ourselves, respect what we do. Like Ibad, you don't know how many times I've watched you and appreciate, and actually I have to be confess over here. Yes. The last time I was watching him, I was asking, this man, I have to meet him.
Really?
I don't know.
So what destiny
when
does.
I saw his name on the list, I said, wow,
what's in this program?
I'm meeting this man today. Well, the things he say on TV are the things I love to hear.
Yeah.
He talks about the borders.
It does.
We
It
are just
does.
an oasis.
I mean, Ibad will dissect all the foreign borders for you.
You see, and it is true. Whatever it's been saying is very true.
Okay.
I even said to someone that I wish that which I know now from what I know, he is actually in connection with the government.
Yeah.
I want the government of our beloved nation to listen to people like himself. To us, we are Ghanaians that love our country. I would do everything for United Kingdom. Why? Because it took me in.
Yeah.
It did what it did. I mean, I said my life was defined and redefined in the United Kingdom. I went there to do some access courses. I got into school, did a whole lot of all my 15 years of so many years of studies over there. But then again, if Ghana has given me that opportunity, probably I would have done the same thing over here.
Sure.
We need them to give our youth that opportunity to do these things, and they will not love to go there and be shackled, be put in chains and brought down.
I will come back and ask you. I will come back and ask you if this would curb the brain drain. Okay, if this can curb brain drain, and also Ibad, how expensive is it going to be on the Ghanaian government to deport these Ghanaians back? But before that, let me announce the phone line: 0302 770 222 0302 770 222. Let me announce it again: 0302 770 222. Let's make it interactive. Call, ask any questions. Ibad is here, Doc is here. You want to ask them some questions or some suggestions? Let's do that right now. The phone lines are open. So Ibad, how expensive would it be?
I thank Doc for the kind and
Definitely,
words.
definitely.
I thank him so much.
Yeah.
I've also enjoyed him on the panel. You see, when you move a person from one country to another, it could be one of 3 or 4 processes. In very extreme cases, you could declare people persona non grata, as it is happening with Venezuela. And Maduro, the president of the country, has declared certain diplomats persona non grata. So how you go back to your country is no one's...
But sorry to cut your thoughts. We have a caller on the line. We have Amu from Teshi. Hi, Amu.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Hello.
Yeah, how are you?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, my name is Amo.
All right.
But what I just want to, I'm watching your program, I'm very excited. I just want to tell you the people, the point blank, Ghanaian leaders. I was born, I can, starting from the wrong side. Ghanaian leaders don't think about the youth. That's the main reason why we're trying to go out. The youth, they don't care. You're talking about United Kingdom. United Kingdom, they are very good. They protect their people. But the Ghanaian leaders, from Ronnie's regime up to now, they don't care about the youth. Let's compare ourselves to South Africa. Julius Malema was starting something. If he's a Ghanaian here, the Ghanaian leaders will kill him secret. So if you want to compare ourselves, let's learn from the South Africans. Ghanaian leaders, our fathers in the parliament, they're wicked from the Ronnie's regime up to now that I'm talking about. And they are criminals. They steal from us.
All right, thank you, Amu. Thank you so much, Amu. Thank you. Thank you so much, Amu. Thank you so much. Ibad, he's talking about leadership. I mean, boils down to leadership.
When you read the IOM statistics, International Organization on Migration, the number of youth, African youth, that drown in the Mediterranean only because they are told there are greener pastures elsewhere. Day in and day out, you can find a pregnant mother with a baby straddled on her back, on a dinghy, a dinghy that cannot stand the tidal waves of the Mediterranean, and they drown and they die every day. So something should be done so the youth would find Africa attractive. So it could be expulsion, persona non grata, we don't need you here. Arrangements could be made. You asked me how expensive it's going to be. It could be rendition. Rendition is when you want to take
Ibra, sorry. We have Moro from Ashaman. Hi, hello, Moro.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you doing?
I'm well.
All right, please go ahead.
I want to contribute to the program.
Please go ahead.
Please, you see, all what you are saying, I'm following you through, but let me tell you one something. See, about 90% of our leaders, they don't have the youth. And that's the only place we can succeed in our life. You'll be here, your rent is a problem for you, your
like you said,
light bill is a problem for you, your water bill is a problem for you. That's the only place you can pass and succeed in your life. I don't know how can you survive for your children. You don't do anything to help us. Maybe my education background is very bad. That's the only place I should pass so that I succeed in my life. That's the only thing.
okay.
So not that we don't like Ghana, but we have to go and do something and come back and come and support our family.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Moro. Thank you so much. Yeah, Ibert.
Yes, I'll explain quickly the 4 terms used in international relations.
I'm going to come and ask for leadership.
Yes,
Okay.
expulsion, you've been declared persona non grata,
Okay.
you are forced out of the country. Rendition, like the Gitmo tool, they are Yemenis. The Americans think they've committed a crime against the United States in Afghanistan, and they want a third party
Okay.
to hold them. So when you want to do rendition, you have to bear the cost.
Okay.
So the Americans had to bear the
Okay.
cost. Then there is repatriation or deportation, as we have in this case.
Okay.
So therefore, I believe Ghana could bear a little bit of the cost because these are our nationals.
Okay.
But they are deportees that have ever been brought on chartered flights,
Okay.
completely borne by the Americans. So therefore, these are the differences. And then there's extradition. The way we are looking for the men's gold boss, Nam1, we want him to be extradited to the country where he's accused of committing a crime. Then Ghana would have to bear the cost.
So Ibert, would you say that at this particular moment, in this spell of the moment, the Ghana Foreign Ministry and the U.S. Okay, I'm coming. We have Ibrahim from Tamale. Hi, Ibrahim. Ibrahim.
Yes.
Can you speak up a bit, Ibrahim?
Yes, I call Ibrahim.
All right, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
How's Tamale?
Yeah, that's Tableau, a nearby place from Tableau.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, please, I wanted to contribute to the program.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. The reason why we have been traveling to maybe USA or other countries of Canada, those things, that Ghana is not favoring the youth. Why am I saying this? The Ghanaian does not pay attention to the youth. They have been disciplined. So whenever you go to look for a job,
It is.
and the way they will teach you, when someone from outside comes to their age, they will attend the person, leaving you be a citizen as a Ghanaian. Secondly, when you are being employed as a youth, you can be taken up more than several months, and they will not be listening to you. You may not be paid. So there are a lot of things that the leaders have been doing to the youth. So we just say that please, the youth should, the leaders should listen to the youth, so that our movement from Ghana to other countries will be stopped. Because we are not happy of, because if you listen to others who have been traveling to men or those things, some of us have been lost our life on the way, and that's not good. So please, we say that.
Okay. All right, thank you, Brian. Thank you so much for your call. Quickly, I was asking that, so as we speak right now, we're in the spell of the moment. So we don't know what the agreement or what will be agreed on concerning deportation, repatriation of the Ghanaians. Do we? We don't know what kind of, what angle it's going to take.
If you declare your child missing, and they say your child is roaming about, marooned around in Sawam, would you wait for someone to bear the cost?
No.
Doc made a very critical point that people don't really care about the lives of Ghanaians.
Okay.
There are so many Ghanaians that are even studying abroad. We don't even know about them.
No.
Even those studying in China, sometimes they run out of funds and nobody is there to help them with Ghana Education Trust Fund, GET Fund. So therefore, if it doesn't concern policymakers, then it's not an issue.
Okay.
So I think we need to critically put some premium on the life of the Ghanaian, whether the person is within Ghana or out of it.
I'll come and take your last word. Doug, with all the calls we've gotten, it boils down to leadership, youth leadership. Speak to leadership.
Well, I'm here to tell leadership, and I believe that most of our ministers and MPs and the government, is listening, what we are here as youth of this nation, this beloved nation, is to talk about how best we can start doing things to support the youth.
Doc, sorry to cut your thoughts. We have Emmanuel from Western Region. Hi, Emmanuel.
Good morning.
Good morning, Emmanuel. How are you doing?
Quite well.
How's Western Region?
The name is Mohammed, not Emmanuel.
Mohammed, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, please go ahead.
Please, my problem is the same thing as my two brothers have said. Employment concerning the youth. And then the leaders are one of the problems. Could you remember the current American president, Trump, used shithole leaders?
Yeah, that statement.
These are some of the things. And then you look at what our junior brother has said, the number of people who died in the Mediterranean Sea and others. Gaddafi almost said this, that all these children are the children of the poor, from poor background. You will never see the children of the politicians, the rich men.
Yeah.
So there should be a concern. Is Ghana more these resources in Ghana, and how much population is Ghanaian? Let's take it at least 30 million, comparing to others, and looking at the resources Ghana has. But we are still lacking behind. So please, the leaders, the distribution of the national resources, and then the employment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, so it boils down to
It's down to leadership.
So, Doc,
I mean, like I was trying to say, in the UK, what I have known since I've been there and became a citizen over there, what I've known is, you see, no system in the world is perfect. No system. You know, it's anything to do with human beings. You know, we change this and that, and you know, keep changing until we get it up to some level of perfection. And I would say some level of perfection, because we are still striving for it. We haven't reached there yet. So yes, we have people being killed in the UK, in the US. Every day you hear these things. But then again, every day the police and the security services actually find ways and means of counteracting or dealing with these issues. They need to be seen to be doing something.
Okay.
You see, the national security issues are of much importance, utmost important to everybody, not only the security services. So what we do over there is, when you come across anybody that is not up to what they're supposed to be doing, I mean, citizens arrest is there for everybody to just, you know, conduct. So we are people, the United Kingdom, what they try to do is every day they put measures in to support the youth. They have youth programs all over the country. And I'm speaking to our leaders here, because I'm not saying UK is better than here. I won't say that. Like Ibat said, there are some places that you go and you may not even think that it's London or you know, that kind of thing. I've been to Amsterdam, I've been to Holland, so many places, Hamburg, etc. And you know, you see beauties, of course. They are always trying to change things around and make the countries look good. But there are still some pockets of areas where you go and you say, wow, you know, what's going on here? But they are trying. You see, someone said this some time ago, and I love that. It's a film. It said, you know, get rich or die trying.
Okay.
You see, you want to keep trying till you get it right. What we don't have to accept is, oh, well, we are done for. We should just forget about it and look up to the foreign powers for everything. Okay. We can do it here too. We just have to learn from their experience, because they've been through a lot. There have been lots of revolutions that have taken over place over and over again before they got here. We can do the same thing. But one thing I would tell the youth also, because it seems that everything is within political lines these days. So when you are speaking to your leaders, it doesn't just have to be, my party was there and they were doing this and your party came and they didn't. They won't listen. Psychologically, people actually become stubborn. They get their heads to the wall when you start attacking them that way. But if you are saying to them that I am a Ghanaian party, whatever, I'm not interested, I'm talking to my leaders, so please take us seriously, I believe they will start listening.
Okay.
Because when the youth start talking to the leaders, as we do in the United Kingdom, in the United States, people go out there and speak to the leaders,
Right.
speak to the conscience of the leaders and say, look, we are here to talk to you. We own this country. We own the future. Therefore, this is what we want you to do for us.
Okay.
Then that's fine. But if you are going to say that I'm this color from this party background or that party background, of course, the leader of this party will not accept it. It's a human thing. It's a psychological thing.
All right.
So you don't do that. Just approach the issue as a Ghanaian who is concerned about issues in your nation, and then let's get on with it.
All right.
The leaders will start listening. Once they start listening, at least we
I mean, this topic is a whole day's topic, and but we don't have enough time. We have barely like 2 more minutes to go. So I'll come back just ask you your contact number, because in case we have some deportees around and we need some psycho and all that. I mean, it's very necessary.
Very
so you give us your number. Just let me finish with Ibra. Give me your number, then we're done. In about the next 1 minute, 2 minutes. Now, Ibra, we understand that the restrictions of the limits of validity period and the number of entries on new tourist and business visas for all Ghanaian executive and legislature branch employees and their spouses and their children under 21 will be a 1 month single entry visa. The question is this decision right, and how would it affect the operations of the executive and legislature on national assignment, and why would they arrive at this point?
Nobody goes on national assignment for more than 1 month.
So it's okay?
It's fine.
Okay.
And when you go to, when is the UN General Assembly, you do about a week.
About a week.
So you don't need more than 2 weeks to be in another country.
Okay.
Yeah, so therefore I think it's a good decision.
And your final word?
Doc
Yes.
said something,
Yeah.
sir. Look, there is a girl, she has brain tumor, and she's in a critical situation at Kolebo, and she's in a queue. Why? The IUC, the intensive ICU, the intensive care unit, has only 4 beds. 4 beds.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Just 4.
4.
Wow. For the premier teaching hospital in the country.
Okay.
Her family are trying to get an opportunity to take her to India, but they can't raise the funds. And when I asked, is this intensive care unit for only people with brain tumor? They said for everybody.
How?
So why would you have the appetite to want to remain in a country like this? It boils down to leadership. Let's get our act right. I watched a clip on YouTube when the Ghana Immigration Service had an opening for 500 people. Over 80,000 people came.
It was terrible. Yeah, we saw that.
I was shocked at the numbers at El Wak Stadium. So we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. And the media has given too much latitude to political talk. We have a dose in the morning, a dose in the afternoon, a dose in the late afternoon, a dose when we go to
before you go to bed. It's there.
So we forget the real germane issues that matter to the people.
Is there any number you want people to get you on? Okay, I know you don't. These security experts know. Doc, is there any number we can get you on if we want to?
You mentioned psychotherapy.
Yeah, in terms of psychotherapy, yes.
If someone wants to get to me or
a handle or something,
they can reach me on 055 738 9454. 055 738 9454, and my office line is 055 946 5247. 055 946 5247.
Okay.
They can reach me on this number.
Right. And what time?
Anytime.
Okay. All right. We need to go. My time is up, and it's been interesting. As getting interesting. That time is up, and I've been talking to Ibrahim, International Relations and Security Expert. Ibrahim, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you so much. And then also we had Dr. Richard Egan, a medical practitioner in the diaspora, an integrative physician, and a specialist in bioregulatory functional medicine, clinical nutrition, and psychotherapy. And he gave his number 055 738 9454 and official number 055 946 5247. You can get him. Deportation. Ghanaians, let's be proud of ourselves. Please, let's be proud of ourselves. Coming up next, we have the interview concerning the self-medication project by the University Education of Winneba. Enjoy this one.
On my left here is the founder of